Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and what's next. It's a show that asks questions and peels back the layers of our average everyday experience and goes beyond scratching the surface. We interview people doing incredible things who are making a difference around the globe. Join me as we listen in and get one step closer to understanding that big ideas shared create collaboration. Collaboration can inspire community, and communities create social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview is with Ben Hamer and Paul Higgin, and we talk about their gorgeous, poetic, unsettling new film, The Middlemen. It really is a lot of fun, and with a philosophical worldview that's going to make you smile, it's going to affirm, and it's going to challenge. It really has a what I would call a kind of postmodern Buddhist existentialist edge. I don't know if that means much to you as a listener. I hope it does, but it's worth stepping into, just even for the cast alone. Ross Sutherland, Don McKellar, Paul Gross, Tuva Novotny, Kenneth Walsh. I mean, it really is a brilliant study on this thing called life. It's a bit of a road movie in a way. And it really is too a comedic essay about human experience. We talk about empathy. We talk about poetic humor and this idea of comedy. How's this for a quote from one of the characters in the film? Quote, "As a witness, you only have one choice, the truth." It's important to figure out the difference between good and bad news. Paul Gross is one of my favorite lines. We can't have a middleman who cries. I mean, why and why are there so many accidents in Carmack? Asks Don McKellar's character. So check it out. It's a delightful journey into life. It really is, and it's ironic and it's satirical, and it is going to challenge you in all the right ways. So check it out, The Middleman, and don't forget davidpecklive.com for more information about my writing and speaking. You can get a copy of Real Change is Incremental there, and facetofacelive.ca, the podcast that I host, Face to Face. It's there too. So either of those URLs will get you to the same site. And please sign up wherever you listen to podcasts. Sign up for our newsletter too, if you can. We only send a few of those out a year. But more importantly, as you listen to the podcast, I would love it if you like what we're doing here. Please leave us a review wherever you listen, and socially mediate the heck out of it. If you can pass it on to friends and post about it, we would so appreciate it. Coming right up, Ben Hamer, Paul Higgin, and here on Face to Face, we talk about today, The Middleman. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We're joined by two very special guests today. I am just so thrilled to have Ben Hamer and Paul Higgin here with us today to talk about their new film, The Middleman. First of all, congratulations to you both. Welcome to Toronto, and thanks for joining me today on Face to Face.
Thank you.
So we've got a short period of time here, and I have a lot of questions. I love the film. It's poetic. It's gorgeous to look at, and it's deeply unsettling on so many levels. Ben, can I ask you, would you consider yourself a postmodern existentialist who has a bit of a Buddhist worldview? Is that a fair question?
Maybe that too. I wouldn't say specifically that people too much into. No, I don't know. It's all
no. That's
to characterize yourself.
Yeah, no. I'm kind of having a little bit of fun with you, but from a philosophical view, I mean, I found the film to be just so poetic and so deeply existential on so many levels. Paul, is that something that drew you, would you say, to the film, that unsettling edge to the script and to where you thought you might be able to take this character?
No, for sure. I thought the script was amazing, and it's working on this. I think even for Bent, who created the whole thing. I mean, it's based on a book, but still, it was as we dug into the material, I think that we just discovered more and more. And it was it's a process that's sort of still going on. I met the audience here in Toronto for a Q&A, and the questions they had, it made me wonder too, what do you think? What do I think, really? So no, it's been such a fascinating ongoing process.
Yeah, I bet. Ben, when you make a film, is it a philosophical journey for you, or is this really about making this cinematic experience for me as the viewer? I can't help but think you're a philosopher.
Yeah, hopefully it's a depth, of course, but it also have to function on the, let's say, first level in a way. Without being too, what to say, pretentious, I have often my film been sold as a kind of comedies, black comedies and so
Sure.
on. But as I never made the comedy in a way, but I think humor is a wonderful way of understanding each other, and for communication as well. It opens up in a way, and I think I'd like to call it poetic humor. It's a kind of bigger humor, and you might link that to some kind of philosophical view of yourself and the world around you, if you understand what I mean. It's also, I think, also like the absurdity. I see the Magritte in the background of you now. It's also a way of making things precise, I would say, actually, and not the other way around.
Mm.
It seems to me there's a precision in the film and the storytelling and the sets, Paul, and your performance even. I love the fact that the tailor, who's also a barber, doesn't have to measure you, just has to step back and knows, right? I mean, this is a beautiful little piece. There's just so many places I could go. I can't tell you how much I love the film, and I love the script, and the fact that it's the Grand Theater again. This is just marvelous to me. There's, on so many sort of metaphorical levels. Ben, on a certain level, I felt like I was. And Paul, your character was like Virgil in Dante's comedy. Like I felt like you were taking me on this super important human journey. Tell me, Paul, you seemed like a really loving, compassionate guy in this film. How did you access that? Is that just you, or did you really have to dig deep for that?
I hope there is some love and compassion in me in real life, but but of course, no, exploring this character Frank was a journey of its own. We wanted to explore many different aspects of him, and I think that's for me that's what this movie is about, and and making the movie certainly, for every scene, like who is he now. And I think that's also a very human thing. We all have many different aspects to us, and for the film to allow for those different aspects to be there is something that I really, really appreciate.
Tell me about the scene with Rossif Sutherland, who by the way, I've interviewed 4 of the stars in this film. I can't believe the talent that you have in this film. It's just so wonderful. Paul Gross, just out of the park. Your performance was stunning, Paul. Hey, tell me about the moment when you switched off Steve. Paul Gross's line to you about the absurd humor of that when he said to you, yeah, switching Steve off was something you do in your spare time. Honestly, I laughed out loud moment. But did you ever find yourself caught up in the moment of grief and the challenge of that thing that we deal with all the time, really, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. No, that is, I mean, going in and out of those things is what making this movie was. And I think that it's the thing that you mentioned with the sheriff, the Paul Gross's line there's something very moving, I think, because this film is a lot about, institutions, and you organize society in a way that reality will somehow be manageable for you, and we create these institutions and everything, but you can't really ever escape the fact that it is, you know, horrible and mysterious and beautiful and all these human things that you can never sort of put in a box and say that this is, no, we understand it all. So I think that the movie sort of exists between the very mundane and the very mysterious, and then it's like, yeah, it's just been a joy to explore it.
I bet for such a sort of dark and poetic film, you guys had a lot of fun shooting it as well. That's my sense. Ben, are you a fan of Orwell? Are you pushing back against the system in a sense? You know, the commission, as it were. You know, I love his business card, by the way, the Middleman. It's just I want one of those business cards. Is that something that you feel as an artist that you've got to speak out against?
I don't know. I mean, Orwell is. We read him when we was young, and it's by then seems like something really, if not sci-fi, at least quite far ahead. But these days, it's just more or less the normal. But I don't know. I mean, the representation of this, I mean, it's a specific story, it's a specific place in the world right now, but hopefully it represents much more. And I think, like Paul started to talk a little bit about also, what connect people more, I think more connect the people than what to say, the opposite of connecting, than make the distance between.
Sure, like barriers between, or
and I think we all are struggling, maybe more or less in the same kind of area, of course, in different ways. And it's I mean, people in that we say who have no future prospects, and if people are lucky, they have like 3 jobs and they have to work 24 hours, more or less, at least 20, and they still can't even feed the family. And but I mean, I don't know. And like Paul said, to put everything into a box and understanding, just say they are Trump voters or how we do it, that's too simple in a way also. It's so easy to do that. Think that they don't understand their own way of living and what is how they can make their lives better. But I must say, I also feel a lot for the people that are struggling. So for me, hopefully it's that we, through this strange kind of maybe film, also can show some empathy for the people struggling, and it's not just the dark humor. And and as you see, for the people in Karmak, it's very hard to live there, but it's maybe even harder to escape from it.
Right. Yeah, you know, Ben, while you were talking, I just thought of that Henry David Thoreau line that most of us live lives of quiet desperation. You know, and I feel like I felt very much alongside of you, Paul, as you. I kind of feel like, I wonder, Paul, aren't we all middlemen of one kind or another? Right? Like there's that great moment where Paul Gross's character says to you, you know what, this time you're receiving the bad news. And I just thought that was a beautiful moment of, hang on, it's your turn to step back. Can you talk a little bit about that?
No, I completely agree, because it's it's sometimes we bear the news and sometimes we give them, and it's all a part of our lives, and we all know that it's our turn coming up either way, and there's something, of course, very brutal about that, but like you say, it's also something that we have in common with you and I and everyone listening now. It's we're all going to go through these things.
Paul, and I know we got to wrap up in a couple minutes here, sadly, but I wonder, do you believe in accidents?
It's a very good question.
You asked the question in the film, in a sense, and I couldn't help with my background philosophically and to go to freedom and determinism. But yeah, is there an unhappy accident, for instance?
No, but I think this is, I keep thinking about this. I mean, is everything a coincidence or is it not? That is something that we need to, or maybe should leave alone. I don't know if we want to know the answer to it, but it's for sure a very question.
It's a big question, and I so love, Ben, that you're asking your audience to ask these questions in such a beautiful and poetic and fun and dark way at the same time. Last question for you, Ben, before we lose you, because this is a big one. Would you consider yourself to be a hopeful filmmaker?
Yes, I would say so. I hope so, and I feel so in a way. And this is, like you say, a bigger question, so you have to see in general. But like the ending of the film, it's kind of easy to nail it to the ending, because in the book she actually died. So, and I shot it away that I could have both options. But I really, and both could function very well, I'm quite sure. But I maybe at least trying to be a little bit optimistic in this dark story. I wanted to have a small hope in the end that she survived. I also know that people are discussing if is it really happening, which is also the text of the song. Is this happening? But and I don't own any of the solutions or explanations, but for me, I think it happened. But I mean, it's up to each and one of the audience to find out or decide.
Well, I so love that you've made this beautiful work piece that's gorgeous to look at. I laughed out loud in many places, and I feel like maybe that wasn't the right response, but
you are free to respond any way you like.
Yeah, and yet such a deep, I think, reflection on what it means to be human and what it means to love and be compassionate and to be in relationship in difficult times. And Paul, your performance is just outstanding. It's just wonderful to watch you. And like I said, I felt like I was right alongside with you. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
What a pleasure having you both on the show today, Bent Hamer and Paul Higgin, talking about their gorgeous and poetic and unsettling film, The Middlemen. Thanks so much for your time today to you both.
Thank you so much.
So there you have it. Bent Hamer and Paul Higgin talking about their gorgeous and poetic and philosophical and fun new film, The Middleman. Check it out. It's at the theater. It's online. It's certainly at a digital theater near you. We had a blast. It was a short interview. It was a short chat. I was hoping for a few more guests and a bit of a longer one, and I'm sure we could pick it up down the road. But what a fascinating and fun film talking about empathy and this thing called life, human experience. It really was a delight. Ben Hamer and Paul Higgin. And don't forget davidpecklive.com for more information about what I do, facetofacelive.ca for a lot of podcasts. Go back and check out some of those interviews. And please subscribe wherever you listen and do leave us a review. I would greatly appreciate that. Socially mediate us if you can. And thanks for listening. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face.